What's going on, guys? It's SDG. I'm back at it again. Listen, it's no secret that that a topic like this, waiting for marriage, right? It's not something that that the secular world would really be, too enthusiastic about. But the reason I decided to come on here and make this video is because I've seen a lot of bad arguments against waiting for marriage on the secular side. Now, I've even seen some Christians in these comment sections talking about, yeah, I'm a Christian, but I'm not doing that, something like that, right? Some along those lines. So I just want to come on here and address that and just, give some points to why I fully believe that waiting for marriage is completely logical, and of course why this is completely necessary, why this is completely a command from Jesus to do as a Christian, for no matter what time it is. So yeah, let's go ahead and get right into the video. We'll just start off with this video right here. I'm gonna throw up an example.
Dumbest thing people ever say is, I'm gonna wait till marriage. Like, there's nothing wrong with being pure, following your religion and things of that nature, but think about it like this. Let's say you meet your partner. 5 years from then, you guys get married, wedding, all that. The night of you guys' wedding, you crack buns. It was the worst buns you ever experienced. It was the worst head you ever gotten. Imagine waiting 5 years for the worst experience of your entire life.
Whew, okay, so there's a lot to unpack there. I think he kind of made a couple errors there, but let's start with his first claim. Or not his first claim, but one of his claims about you wait all of this time and then you finally do it, and it's like the worst experience of your entire life. But compare it to what exactly? You're saying it's the worst experience, the worst that you've ever gotten before. But ideally, if you've waited for marriage, you don't have that to compare it to. What do you mean it's the worst experience that you've ever had when it's the only experience you ever had? Like, by that logic, I guess you could say it's the worst and it's also the best, because I'm not quite sure what we're getting at here. And then I think his whole point is, okay, what if it's bad, right? What if it doesn't meet whatever expectation you may have? What if it does it? What if it's not this and this and that and all that? And I completely understand that. That concern is absolutely valid, but I think we got to understand what this is about, right? Because no, there's a lot of things into this stuff. And one of the biggest things is communication, right? You're never gonna have a good experience if you don't communicate. You're never gonna have a good anything in life if you don't communicate with your partner. If you're not talking to them, like before, like while you're engaged, leading up to everything, and after, and all that, right? It's a learning experience. You grow and you learn together. That's kind of like the whole point of marriage. You're doing this life thing together. A man shall leave his father and mother and become one flesh with his wife. You're going through life as one. You're going through life together. You're learning these experiences together, right? So it's not like it's just gonna stay like that your entire marriage, or it's just gonna be horrible and you guys just won't match or something like that. Maybe that's what he's getting at, like you won't match. And again, there's all types of things that exist for this. There's counseling. There's just talking to your partner, seeing what they need. There's making sacrifices and compromising with them. Of course, again, I'm not trying to get this video taken down, but it's not, from what I understand, which all that is very, very limited. I don't understand it, right? I'll say it right here. I don't understand it, right? But I feel like there's an argument to be made here that it's not just a one-stop thing where it's like, okay, you click with this person or you don't click with this other person. I don't really feel like it works like that. Of course, I don't know, but it's something that you would have to go through together. It's something that you would have to learn together. And I'm kind of rambling a bit, but I guess my point of this, my objection to what he's saying right now would be, one, what are you exactly comparing it to? If you've waited for marriage, what do you mean it's the worst experience you've ever had? You've never had another experience. And then number two, what if it's bad? Okay, that's why you communicate before, during, and after, right? To talk about what happened, to talk about what you guys want to do, to talk about how this is going to work. And this is why you learn about this kind of stuff. I'm not totally sure, but I think I've heard somewhere. I'm not on that side of the internet, of course, but I think I've heard like there's like premarital like counseling and stuff that you go to and discuss all these topics with, right? And that'd be something that you learn. You learn your spouse, you learn your partner, and you learn to compromise with your partner. You learn to make that entire experience better, because you're with this person and you've got all the time in the world to develop and grow and learn together. But yeah, that'd be my objection to that point. Now onto his other point about waiting 5-6 years just for it to be bad. I don't know what he's talking about. What do you mean waiting 5 to 6 years? Who is waiting 5 to 6 years to get married. I'm not familiar with this. Like I'm not saying, okay, let me be clear. I'm not saying you should rush. Don't rush into like a marriage. Don't do that, right? But 5 to 6 years, that's a long time. You're waiting half a decade, over half a decade. Because he said 7 in the later part of his video. He said like 7 years. So you're waiting over half a decade to to do this thing, right? And that just I just don't see that. Like who is doing that? I'm seeing mostly like, you 2 3 years and then you propose and then you're engaged and then you're doing all that by like the 3 4 year mark. But 5 to 6 years just seems like a bit of a long time. I think he might be exaggerating that a little bit. But yeah, now we're gonna go ahead and pull up the second part half of this video because that's the things I want to say about this too.
Boyfriend or girlfriend, then future wise, you become my fiance, then we get married, then we have our wedding, and then we're officially married. I shouldn't have to wait 5, 6, 7 years to marry you just so I can crack puns, nigga. Ain't no nigga gonna do that unless you're following religion. I'm not gonna lie, I'm one of the niggas that be like, nah, I'm not waiting until marriage. Honestly, I think it's a pretty dumb thing. You feel me? I feel like it's a pretty dumb thing. I feel like they only do that in religions so that people would have like some type of commitment to each other. Now you're married. Now if you have a kid, if you have sex, you have to have that person forever in your life or you will be impure.
Okay, so that was a pretty bad mischaracterization of the religious reason. I can't speak for other religions, but the religious reason that we Christians would give as to why, you should wait for marriage. It's not about just, oh, just waiting so that you won't be impure or anything like that. That's definitely part of it for sure. But God gives us reasons as to why, you wait for marriage. I mean, you look at the Song of Solomon. You have the Bride of Solomon. She's talking about, oh, my daughters of Jerusalem, I'm begging you, don't awaken love until the time is right. And we see this, right? Even in research, we see all types of research talking about how people who waited for marriage have a way lower divorce rate, right? What's the average divorce rate? Like, what, like 35, 40 some percent, right? And then we see that the average divorce rate for people who have like 0 to 1 partners in their past, it's like, I think like 9% or something like that. So that's a huge drop off already. Not to mention the fact that it lowers again, like the divorce rate lowers again whenever someone is a Christian, right? Whenever both parties are Christian, right? And not to mention it even lowers more when they're actively attending church service, when they're actively participating in the faith. I think it's some of the lowest divorce rates, of course, are among the clergy, right? And then also for just global couples who pray together every day, every week, right? They have the lowest divorce rates, and so it's not just this thing about just purity. It's about protecting your future marriage, protecting your future partnership by avoiding that right now, right? And I'm not saying that if you've done this, if you slipped up in the past, and there's no hope for your future marriage is cooked, or even if you wait for marriage, that your future marriage is going to be perfect. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is when we look at the statistics, we see that there's a very obvious, very glaring correlation between waiting, right, and a much lower divorce rate, between being holy together, between pursuing holiness together, and a much lower divorce rate, right? And yeah, I just felt the need to point that out because he kind of did a bit of a bit. I get it's a TikTok, but he kind of did a bit of a mischaracterization of the religious reasons that we would give to wait for marriage. But again, I'm gonna, yeah, that was one of the videos, and then I got one more that I wanted to address from one of the creators that I actually I don't follow him, I don't think, but I have stumbled across some of his videos on my FYP. He does present some solid research, and I'm glad for him for doing that, right? But I'm just a bit confused on why he didn't research this topic a little further, because I really think he would have found some good reasons. And we're also gonna address some Christian things as well in this next one. But yeah, we'll play this next clip.
Till marriage before you lose your virginity. Question that for some reason I receive relatively often. Hey man, first of all, I want to say that I love your content and that you truly guide a whole generation of young men on the right track. I'm curious about your opinion on waiting until marriage before losing your virginity. Do you think as men that is a goal worth following, or do you think we as men should have some experience before actually settling down? My family and friends think that, especially in this generation, waiting till marriage as a man is stupid, but I still don't know if I should listen to them as I am Christian Orthodox. Have a nice day, man, and thank you for your time.
Okay, I'm gonna stop him right there for a second, but we just need to be clear on this. This guy is Christian Orthodox, okay? Meaning he's a Christian, right? So that's really gonna come into play here in a couple minutes here.
your question, we need to agree on the frame. My frame here is this. First, you want to maximize your chances of living a great life as a man when it comes to dating and relationships. Second, if you have sex only after marriage, it means that technically you married your first woman. So from that perspective, think about this. What is the divorce rate in most Western countries? This is a question answer video, not a research one, so I leave it to you to go check the exact data. But as far as I know, it is somewhere around 40 to 50% in a lot of them. So for simplicity, call it 1 out of every 2 marriages ending in divorce.
Okay, so there's two very big problems with this. For one, right, we see that he's saying that most marriages are gonna end in divorce, or not most. I think he said what, 1 in every 2 marriages are ending in divorce. But he's leaving out some, or maybe he's just unaware. But there's some very key pieces of context that are actually missing here, right? For one, the divorce rate among Christians and this is important. The divorce rate among Christians that actually attend church, church services regularly, is like way lower. I think it's about like 50% lower, something like that. I'll throw up a piece of research here on the screen, but yeah, not only that, but the divorce rate that's like 50, 60%, or 40 to 50%, it's actually falling in a lot of these countries, right? Especially in the United States, we're seeing the lowest divorce rates that we've seen since the 80s, right? Where it was near 50%, but it's actually falling now, right? And it's actually highly skewed. Even the divorce rate now, it's highly skewed because of things like second and third marriages, which are like, if I remember correctly, like 60% like higher than like the divorce rate for second and third marriage are like 60% higher than the normal divorce rate, which is already skewed by that second and third marriage. So yeah, the second and third marriages are absolutely skewing the data in favor of the divorces, right? I'll throw a piece of data for that as well, but that's important to remember because we're not just dealing with the average marriage here. Ideally, we'd be dealing with a Christian marriage if this guy actually goes to church and finds a godly woman, right? So that's important to remember there, and it's also important to remember that data is already skewed.
Divorce. And of the ones that don't divorce, how many are actually happy? A lot.
Yeah, okay, I completely understand this objection as well. I mean, there are a lot of unhappy marriages out there, right? And of course, he goes on to list a couple other reasons that couples will stay together even if they are unhappy. But I do want to point out that this is actually okay. I don't want to say perfect, but this is actually one of the situations that, again, at being actively religious or convictionally Christian is something that astronomically lowers the rates of this. I mean, I'll throw up some research on the screen again, but I think it's like what, 80 or something percent of those marriages of marriages are reported as being happy if for convictional Christians, right? And compared to the average, that's like what, 59%, I think, somewhere around there is the average happiness, is the average satisfaction rate for just marriages altogether, right? And then from the rest of the video, he goes on to lay out his reasons on why, he thinks you need experience and all these things to for you to have a successful marriage, to try to increase your chances of successful marriage, right? You need all this experience, and you need to find out if you're compatible or not, and you need to make sure that your relationship has survived all these tests and all these things that sound great in theory, but then again, we look at the actual statistics on this, and it's just not lining up at all with what he's saying. I mean, again, I'll throw up some on screen, but I mean, couples who waited for marriage end up having the lowest of the lowest divorce rates, and end up actually reporting the highest of the highest satisfaction rates, right? Satisfaction rates, and just in terms of happiness in their marriage, and even satisfaction rates when it comes to that, right? In their marriage, these couples are the ones being the most satisfied in that section of their marriage, and they have astronomically lower divorce rates. So what he's promoting, this idea that yeah, you need all this experience, you need to know these different things, you need to test your relationship. I think what again he might be referring to there is, of course, that maybe cohabitation. But again, we see in the studies that cohabitation is actually okay. I wouldn't say correlating with a higher divorce rate, but it's higher than the couples who didn't cohabitate, right? So I'm not saying it's correlating with a higher divorce rate, but it is higher than the couples who didn't uh, cohabitate. So again, there's just so many things wrong here. I'm just a little bit confused because this guy normally does phenomenal work, but I don't know. He just seems to kind of drop the ball on this one. And I hope that he makes a response. I hope that he, takes a look at the research into this. And finally, just one more word I have for that guy who actually asked the original, actually commented the original thing, asked the original question to that guy. Um, don't you're in this situation where you're Christian Orthodox, right? And you said you're considering that maybe it's not worth it, maybe it's stupid to wait for marriage because what your family said it's not worth it. Brother, are we being serious right now? I get it. It can be hard when you've got all this pressure and all this, but as a Christian, you are supposed to deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow Jesus. And these things have, and it's not just about make you feel bad or anything like that. It's that you listen to Jesus because he's right. I mean, again, the studies show this, and even the studies are showing that people who did wait for marriage report the lowest amount of infidelity as well. You think, oh, you get bored and you want to experience something new. No, these people are reporting the lowest infidelity because they practice self-control. They practice all these disciplines that you're going to need later on in marriage, so that you won't be tempted to fall into infidelity. So you won't be tempted to fall into any of these things. You need to practice this self-control now, right? Because you don't really, unfortunately, when an infidelity or something happens in a marriage, oftentimes you're not getting another chance. You're not getting another chance to redo it. Oftentimes that's the end of the relationship, and that's sad. Divorce is a horrible, sad thing that we do not want to happen. So if you want to get married one day, if your goal is to have a lifelong marriage, to have a happy marriage, to have a satisfied life in that scenario, in that area of life, to have a satisfied, life, then you should be waiting for marriage. The research is abundantly clear on this, right? So again, Jesus is vindicated and he's proven right. These ancient cultures, they weren't just saying this all willy nilly. God, the Song of Solomon. It's very clear. I said this earlier. Responding to the other guy, the Song of Solomon. It's very clear about not awakening love until the time is right. About waiting for marriage. About even about rejoicing in it after you're married. Right? But you have to wait. You have to go through this experience of pruning, of self control, of self development before you can rejoice in it. Right? You've gotta eat your dinner before you can have the dessert. Right? You gotta hit the gym, but before you can see the results and all these things. That's one thing we're gonna have to remember. And yeah, to end it off, I'm just gonna go ahead and throw up that Song of Solomon uh verse that I was talking about here because I haven't been able to remember it, but I'll just throw it up here to end off the video. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video, and peace out. God bless y'all.